Hi there, and welcome to Tyrexpo Asia, where we're recording live on location at our Retreading Conference here at the iconic Marina Bay Sands and Expo Centre. We're delighted to be participating at such a historic venue. Before we get on with this video, we have one quick request from you. At the moment, about 93% of our viewers are not subscribed to this channel. So, before you watch this video and get all of your Tyrexpo Asia related content, we hope you can click the subscribe button below. As you know, the more subscribers we have, the further our content travels and the more we can invest in bringing you the biggest and the best stories from the Tyre retreading industry. Anyway, it's time for me to stop talking and for us to get on with the video. After nearly 4 years following the last Tyrexpo Asia show in 2019, we were delighted to return to the Marina Bay Sands and Expo Centre to collaborate once again and work with the show organisers Tyresoles, as we organised and hosted a retreading conference on the first day of the show. Celebrated on the 8th of March, the retreading conference featured 6 key speakers from Asia, the US and Europe, with 3 presenting in each session. In the first session, Bloor, the Executive Director for International Sales and Marketing from the Giti Tyre Group, Edmund Wong, the President of Tyre Retreading Manufacturers Association of Malaysia, and Karun Sanghi, the Managing Director of Tyresoles and the Chairman of TREA, were all there to present. Following a short break, Session 2 was started by David Stevens, the Managing Director of TRIB, who then handed over to Barron, the Plant Manager of Vaculug in the United Kingdom. The Retreading Conference was brought to a close by Michael Hutt, the General Manager of Group Marketing at Loong Commercial Tyre Group. Now remember, all of these presentations can be viewed in their entirety on our YouTube channel. Now, let's take some time to hear from some of our speakers as they delve further into the details of their presentations.
An efficient plant is looking to maximize its correct output with reducing the number of inputs at the same time. Firstly, you need to measure the different outputs of your production stages in order to then balance the process, as balance is everything in efficiency. So you measure each production process and then put the resource input in order to balance that overall output from the production facility. Secondly, I would say that you should document your processes. Quite simply because if you don't know how to describe what you're doing, then the people in your plant won't know what they're doing either. So document your processes so that everybody knows what they're doing. And then the third thing is to continuously measure your performance across those stages. So you're looking to measure, review, and repeat always everything that you do.
So one is that radialization has gone up to about 50%. So the first life of tires, which used to be say 50,000 kilometers, is now 100,000 kilometers. So the replacement gets delayed a little bit. Also the roads aren't great, right? So the highways are great, but the minute you get off the main highway, the roads are bad. Radial tires get damaged more easily, so that the rejection goes up. So maybe 50% of tires get rejected and don't get retreaded. And also I think the Indian truck driver is still in the mindset of bias ply tires. So he doesn't look at his tires or inflate his tires or take care of his tires as well. So again, we have more rejection. So overall tires are growing, but retreading business seems to be shrinking. So it's a huge market, right? So retreading in India, still 6 to 7 million tires. It should grow much more, but I think we're waiting for it to consolidate. We've been waiting for a long time, right? Still, average retreader does 1,500 tires a year, which is just not sustainable. We need to get bigger companies doing better quality of retreading. So I think it will get better and it will consolidate, but will it take 1 year or 3 years or 5 years? We don't know. So it should get better, but we wait.
Basically, we all understand the business model of retreading. It's a product which is extended as a service to remanufacture suitable casings and continually communicate about that value proposition. And it's super important that the basic fundamentals of communicating about the value proposition are done. Because if the level of customer intimacy is not what it should be, customers will be tempted by other cheap new offers, which there's a stack of arguments that people will use, but ultimately we know that the whole life cost of good quality retreadable new tyres followed by a good technically qualified retread process is an excellent value proposition. Well, retreaders by definition should be close to the consumers of tyres, fleets, because the raw material of retread, as we all know, are casings. Casings come off trucks. And as a result, that level of communication and the continual reinforcement of the purchase decision being the correct one, i.e. whole life cost as opposed to upfront price, needs to be reinforced at every opportunity. So it's part of the key challenge is the communication and not to forget the basics. I mean, it sounds a little bit old hat, but we all know that once we've got the performance of a new tyre, once we've got the casings that have been inspected and reprocessed, good quality casings require less reprocessing. If you have good quality retreading techniques, the second life of the tyre is what it is, and we know that that equation, new plus retread, gives a better value proposition than just throwaway tyres.
The main challenges that we face in Malaysia are the influx of cheap and low quality tyres. So in Malaysia, when you import a new tyres, you only need to comply either to Malaysian Standard MS 1394, the DOT or EMARC. However, majority of the tyres have only obtained the DOT standard, which is not a stringent standard. So Malaysia actually lack of a good casing for retreadings. Besides that, we also facing an issue is when you're importing a new used tyres, we are actually paying a higher import duty comparing to the new tyres. Okay, when you import the new tyres from China, you only pay for 5% import duty plus 5% sales tax. However, when you import a tyre casing from overseas, you need to pay for 30% of import duty. Besides that, when you are importing used tyres, you also have to apply for another letter called LOA, Letter of Approvals to import. Okay, so it's actually a time-consuming procedures because you need to submit a lot of documents, and once you get the approvals, you also have to wait until the auditor come and check on the casing, which will incur some inspection costs. A lot of people mention that retread tyres is a sunset business in Malaysia, but when you look at the growing demand for sustainability and eco-friendly products, I don't think that retread tyre is going to be end very soon, because it's the process of prolong the lifespan of the tyres, and we reduce the tyres to save the waste as well as conserving natural resources. And when you look into Malaysians retreading business, a lot of retreaders are actually expanding their operations. So they are start buying some extra buffing machines, autoclave, or some even plan to buy serography machines. So if you don't have a good prospect, I don't think people will invest so much of effort in this business.
Well, I think this past year and the past couple of years have been really strong for the U.S. retreading industry, and there are a number of factors that drive that, from supply issues related to Tier 4 tires coming into the US, the whole impact of various COVID manufacturing issues, but increasing demand on the freight side for, very early on in the pandemic, retreading was established as a crucial business within the US. So retreaders were still manufacturing as many retreaded tires as they could, and with that last mile delivery continuing to grow in the US, retreaders had a lot of business. So you saw, for the first time in several years, pretty significant growth in the US. And I think, we'll continue to see that as we go into 2023. Retreading has always been an environmentally friendly and beneficial industry. I think if I could narrow it down to one thing that has changed, is we're seeing customers of retreaders ask about sustainability. Before it was always about price, is the performance okay? But now, companies of all sizes and shapes are asking retreaders specifically about the sustainability benefits, because they have their own targets that they want to hit in terms of sustainable performance and improvements, and tire retreading can be a big component of that. And so I think that's the biggest shift that we've seen, where the customers are actually pulling information about retreading and looking at that as an option to help them with their environmental benefits.
I think the first thing that we have to look at when we're looking at including retreads into a fleet management program is, first of all, we need to make sure that we're getting the right new tyre, because there's a selection of tyres that just cannot be retreaded. So you need to make sure that you're buying a tyre that is high quality and is able to be retreaded. So that's point number one. Point number two is around maintenance. You can buy the best tyre in the world. If you fit and forget and you do no maintenance, you're never going to be able to retread that tyre. So you need to make sure that you have standard operating procedures in place for maintenance. The biggest problem we see when trying to retread a tyre is that somebody has run the tyre either overweight or underinflated. So if you're not looking after the first life, you're never going to be able to retread the tyre and get a second life out of it. The third piece is then making sure that you actually get a quality retread. So making sure that you find a local supplier who is reputable, who has all of the regulations and qualifications to be able to retread a tyre, and they will help you incorporate a retread program into your fleet tyre mix. I think the biggest problem that we have in Malaysia is that we have a huge influx of very cheap new tyres. And retread tyres have bad PR in Malaysia, but it's unwarranted and it's a perception issue rather than a proof issue. And I think one of the things that a lot of businesses need to do is actually go and look at their P&L, understand what they're spending on tyres, and then go and talk to a retread company and see what they could save over the course of a year on their tyre expenditure if they're using a better quality new tyre and having a retread strategy in place, because I can guarantee they will save money by implementing a retread strategy over just buying cheap new tyres.